So she was saying that you have to practice recall a lot.
I'm sorry?
You have to practice recall a lot.
We did.
Yeah.
We were able to practice every time we went to the park. We would, we'd do pedal and poop. We'd play fetch, and then I'd kind of let her off leash. I'll be honest, but she'd sniff over there, and I kind of move 50 feet away and do come. She'd do it. Even a couple times when she was engaged with dogs, like playing, I stopped every once in a while.
Sure.
And I mean, she was really good with it. I couldn't remember if you said do it without the command. I did it with the command.
Correct.
Every time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure if we were trying to get her to do it without. I said, Rory, come, and then would back up a couple steps, and she'd either jog or sprint. One of the two. But
That's a goofy city you got going on.
yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah, so once we start using the word for things, you can start implementing it
Okay.
and then training with it whenever you're going to work
Okay.
on whatever the topic is.
Mm-hmm.
And good that you're applying it to different scenarios. So recall is going to take a bit to kind of cement and make it as 100% reliable
Make it
as possible.
perfect. Yeah, of course.
So I think this is class number 4, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on something you can work on inside today.
Okay.
And then, are you gonna be in town this week, or are you
Yeah.
gonna? And then let's see if we can get you some reps on the recall as well.
Absolutely.
Because there's gonna be a second half on the recall that we're gonna cover. So once we call a dog to us, they're supposed to stick to us. So even if you're to move, Rory should also just continue to follow you.
Okay.
So don't worry about this week when you work with her with recall. Keep it like you've been doing it. Just keep it calm. Good girl, wait a little bit. Release her if you want to, or pop her on you, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
All right.
Makes sense.
So what we're going to use here is one of our placemats. Are you guys familiar with this command?
No.
Which one is this
But I'm
place?
excited for it.
So place is a stationary command. So we have 3 stationary commands: sit, down, and place. Sit and down are more complicated because there's no exception. You're either in a down command or you're in a sit.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't change from that position. Here with the place command, it's more lenient. It's simply go here and don't move. Sit down, stand, play with the ball, play with the ball, play with a toy. I don't care. Just keep yourself within the perimeter of the placemat. Okay? So like this is a favorite for people if they go to restaurants and stuff, they want to take their dog with them, because it's easier to reinforce.
Okay.
Because if she were in a down and then she breaks and then you have to correct her, you have to put in the effort to correct her to the point where she'd go back to a down position.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's just like, I don't care what you do, just don't get off.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, if someone came by and like, hey, can I pet your dog? And you said, sure. And they went up to her, let's say Rory was laying down and she stood up to be pet, like technically that's fine. She just can't step off of the perimeter. So it's much easier to reinforce and teach than a more specific position like this. Okay? Questions?
No, makes sense. I think this is a great command for her.
What's her number currently?
I have it on 27 right now. I have it up the side of her neck a little more, which means it doesn't have to be as high.
Okay.
She's responding to.
Oh, really?
If you get it under here with all the skin, it's like 30. I noticed that. I accidentally put it up there, and like 35, she was jumping like an electric chair.
Yeah,
I'm like,
35.
"Oh."
35 is.
So then I had it at 20. And like when it's up here, that was fine. So I have it in the mid 20s. This should be fine, I think.
Let's go and dip it down. We're going to go down to 18.
You got it?
So whenever we teach anything new, we always go down lower.
Okay.
And who's going to work with you first?
Go ahead. I don't know. I had reps this week. Go for it. It's fine.
Alright, so I'm going to demonstrate this real quick, and then we're going to start working on it. So here, we'll use the tiles as a frame of reference. We're going to start first about a tile away. We'll keep it simple. We'll start from one direction first. Is you're going to be about a yay distance away from the placemat. You're going to shorten your leash fairly short, and then we're going to start tapping first at that 18. Okay?
Okay.
We're going to do about 2 to 3 taps. So we're going to tap, tap, tap. If we get no response from Rory, we'll adjust it if needed. Otherwise, we're going to keep tapping, and then we're going to pull to guide her towards the placemat. Okay? If Rory has apprehension and starts to put on the brakes, it's okay. We're just going to keep pulling. We might have to brace the placemat a bit and use a bit more physical to get her to go onto the area.
Okay.
Once all of Rory is on the placemat, we're gonna stop tapping. We're gonna wait a second, make sure that she stays put. If she tries to sneak off, you're gonna then counter with some more pressure, start tapping again. She goes back on, you relax, and she's gonna hold for a second or two. Then we're gonna say break, and we're gonna move backwards to release her.
Now, is there a difference between pulling and pressure? When you say like applying pressure, are we pulling her back, or are we just like?
Oh, yeah, so, because there's leash pressure and remote pressure, right? So
Okay.
anytime we're adding in leash pressure,
Okay,
we
leash
do
pressure.
remote.
Remote pressure at the same time.
Correct, yeah, and then
Okay,
once
so
she's
I'm
entirely
tapping the
there.
whole time.
Yes,
Okay.
until she's completely on. The moment we see Rory go on, everything stops, okay? So if she were to overshoot it and go that way, I would counter her like this with leash pressure, and then start tapping as well to bring her back on again.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and,
Okay.
right there, that's good. And then we're going to tap.
Really short leash.
That's right there. And tap, tap, tap. See how she's lifting a little bit?
Yeah, so
Tap, 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 tap. A little bit more of a pull. Tap, yeah, tap, 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 tap. Let's go to, we're at 18.
yep.
Let's go 23. She's like, what the hell?
She's like, I am doing exactly what I've been taught to do. I know.
And tap, 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 tap. More.
Maybe
Hold
she
on.
thinks this is like furniture. She never goes
Okay.
on the furniture home. Or I don't know, should I just be on one side?
So, let me see. So the first one is usually the hardest. So tap, 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 yeah, right there. So when we pull, I think part of the problem is we're going kind of up at the same time,
Oh.
as opposed to more straight
Oh,
like this.
okay.
So in the beginning, if we get resistance like that, it's more physical to bring the dog on, because you saw like randomly she's going like this, right?
Yeah.
So right there, because of the apprehension is of the object, I keep the remote pressure same, which went up a little bit, and then just compensate with a bit more leash pressure. So she goes, oh, that's what I'm
Go
supposed to do.
this way.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then once she gets it, like the first couple times might be a little rough, but then once it clicks, it's gonna be super easy.
Okay.
And
Okay.
break,
Break.
and then backwards, there we go, good girl.
Good
We're gonna repeat that
girl.
4 more times. That's good right there. Tap, tap, tap. There you go, good. And then wait a second. And a girl,
Good girl.
and break.
Break.
Good, 3 more. Good girl.
Okay.
There you go, right there. Good.
She's like, I'm gonna be. Oh.
Good. Yeah. And break.
Break.
Good, backwards, 2 more. So here.
She's like,
Yeah,
oh.
okay.
He's like, okay. Might need to reset her a little bit.
There you go. Yep, wait a moment. Good. And good, right there. Just praise the girl.
Good girl. Good girl.
And break.
Oh, it doesn't feel comfortable.
Oh,
Break.
Heads up, watch the.
Yep. All right. Oh, sorry.
Good, right there. Excellent. And praise.
Good girl.
Good.
Girl.
So now what we're gonna
Break.
do, same concept, but now you're gonna send Rory from about 2 to 3 squares back. Okay,
Okay.
here, when you start tapping on this one, you're gonna try to remain stationary, okay? So you're gonna start tapping, tap, 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 no response, you're gonna keep tapping, and leash pull, if no response by the second and third tap, then you're gonna take a single step forward to get her to go.
Okay, and if
So
she
like
just
three-
goes,
so
should
like
I just
3 steps, right?
loosen the leash?
Yeah, if she goes in response to the tap, you just let her go. Because we're trying to get her to feel the tap and just go there directly without needing the pull or without needing you to step towards it.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, wait, what did you say?
I was just saying, it sounds like 3 steps. Like, see if she does it on her own, then take a step, then
Yes.
pull her. Okay.
Yes. Then the pull, dip, and then a step forward, yep. There you go, like that. Good. So we're trying to do as little as possible and get the dog to do a bulk of the work. Because what happens is, if we always walk Rory to the
Then
placement.
you're doing the command.
Yeah, and then you always have to walk around.
You get up from the couch or the table
I would
every
like
time.
to just keep my butt on the couch and same place.
All
and
right,
Rory.
I'm gonna be lazy, you do the work.
Yeah.
Break.
Good. Two more.
Alright.
I mean, not two more, four more, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Tap, yep, not tap and pull. There you go, a little bit, yeah. There you go, like that. Good girl.
Good girl. Good girl. Break. Break.
Good girl, good job.
She's just like screwing that. You're just gonna make me go right back over.
Yeah, I know, this is it. It's rough being a dog. Yep, there we go, good. We can start to see her, like, kind of flinch forward.
Well, it seems like, so she gets tapped and she's
Girl.
thinking I'm like I'm sitting in position. And then by the second or third one, I think she's like, oh, I actually need to do something else.
Exactly.
Break.
Good girl, just a couple more.
Come on.
Good. And praise.
Good girl. Good girl.
And last one.
Break.
Good. Good. There you go. Good. And praise.
Good girl. Good girl.
What we'll do here
Break.
is now, same concept, so you're gonna start moving around, okay?
Okay.
So you're gonna send it from different directions. So you might send her from this side, you're gonna keep about 2 squares back, right? Break, and then you'll walk around. Don't worry about heel, just kind of walk around.
Okay.
And then maybe you send her from here. I'm getting her used to going from different angles. Good.
Good girl. Good girl. Break. Should I face her? Oops.
Look,
Okay.
as long as she's about, a little bit of a distance away, there you go. Good. Right there. That was good.
Good girl. Good girl. All right. Break.
Good, 3 more.
Come on.
I'm not saying again.
Come on, Rory.
Good. Let's try going, you're 25, right?
Good
Let's
girl.
try
22.
22, let's try 25. And then just a heads up, it looks like you're in medium power on your collar.
Oh, yeah.
So blue is fully charged,
Yeah.
purple is running low. I'm sorry, purple is running low, and red is charged me now.
Yep.
Just heads up.
Okay.
Break.
We'll charge it tonight then. You've been charging in a while.
Because on your remote there's a battery signal, right? That's
Yeah.
only for your remote.
Only for the remote.
Okay.
Because some people get confused and they think it's for the
Yeah. This
e-collar.
battery lasts a lot longer than that.
It does, yeah. Tap, yep, and then tap and pull. There we go. Yeah, girl.
Girl. Good girl.
And do one more.
Break.
There we go. Good. Good. And praise.
Good girl.
Now we're going to keep her on the place, but go ahead and have a seat there.
Over here?
Let's see if it. Okay, so what we're doing here is teaching the send, going from your side to the place. So we have 2 components, the place command, we have the send, and then we have the stay. Here, we start super close, about a foot away to make it super easy for the dog to get to the object. Once we start to see that get easy, then I increase the distance about 2-3 feet away, still from the same direction. Once that's pretty easy, then I start to change the directions of which I send the dog. So dogs are creatures of habit. So if you always send her from one particular direction, you always practice from one particular direction, what you'll find is that like a couple weeks of practicing that, you'll try to send her from a different direction and she'll walk around and go the way that you normally send her, okay? So once I see concept and the dog goes, oh, and I feel this, I go here, I change it up. So they don't get stuck on a particular way of doing things, and she starts to learn, oh, I can go from any direction to this object, okay? So we had a number of steps, right, with tapping, pulling, then to step forward, because ideally I want to just not be able, I just want to be able to say the command and the dog just goes with very little work on my part. So this is why in the beginning they're doing the bulk of the work, okay? We kick in with the pressure first. Sometimes dogs will assume and just jump on the bed. Okay, so I go, what kind of dog is this? Is she going to assume and just take the tap and jump on the bed? Or is she going to take the tap but then need a little bit of leash pressure to guide her and we're going to build it? Okay? So then, if we always kick in with the leash pressure first or the leash pressure with the pull, with the tap, she becomes dependent on the pulling. So the pressure is something the dog wants to avoid. Leash isn't something necessarily that they're wanting to avoid. Okay, so they'll always require it paired with the tap in order to do it, as opposed to if I just start tapping, she's going to go, hey, what happens if I just go there? Nothing happens. There's no tap, there's no pull, there's no nothing. You beat the punch. Okay, so that's what we're trying to condition, and we're trying to make this.
We're trying to condition that.
Exactly.
Yes.
We're trying to make it very easy for her. When I say this, you're going to go here. So like the dog I had before you guys, we did place command as well. And in the beginning, there was a lot of taps to get her to go there. And by the time we were implementing the word of place, the owner was just saying place and the dog was shooting there and didn't need a tap. Okay, so we conditioned the dog, oh, when I hear this, if I go here very quickly, I can beat the punch. Which is different from the recall, because with the recall, at this stage, every time you call her, you always want to tap. Because you're trying to force the problem of you tap too late and you deter her from coming to you because she thinks she did something wrong. Then you keep tapping and then moving back to conditioner, you have to fulfill the command, right? All the other commands, we actually allow the dog to beat the punch and do not remote, okay? Because we're not worried about that problem. So here, when it comes to practicing the stay, you could literally go home right now and do 2 hours, okay? She's just gonna make mistakes. So when we start this process, we always start with the dog in immediately next to us. If I'm sitting on my couch, this is the end of the couch, the dog bed's here, Rory plays, right? I set her up with the leash and everything like that. She goes to place, I can put the leash here, I can step on it, whatever. And then I watch TV. 30 minutes later, she tries to get up because she's like, this is done. She tries to walk away. I start tapping, I don't say anything. Ideally, she would go back on her own. If she doesn't, the leash is right there. I can tap, lead her back. She goes back on place. We're good. I go back to watching TV again. 20 minutes later, she's like, tries to go off. I start tapping, put some tension on her if needed. She goes back to watching TV again. Okay. So it's super easy to correct her because she's right there next to you. If I try to place her across the room and I'm watching TV and she gets up, now I gotta walk all the way over there to get her to go back, right? So it's gonna require more work. And this is why we do stages. And because I always tell everybody, start right here. It's easy. And then I'll get like a few people that are like, hey, Jess, the dog kept getting up and like goes a pain in the ass and correct them. And I'm like, well, how are you doing? Well, we have the dog over there. And I was like, well, yeah, that's why I was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, so we'll put the dog bed over by like where one of the ottomans is, so it's right next to us. That'd be good.
And when it comes to the placemat itself, it can be a dog bed, it can be a towel, it can be a blanket, it can be an ottoman. I've seen people take a towel and like section off part of the couch so it like differentiates, you know, the cushion from the others. I had somebody use a really big area rug. So they're like, can this be placed? I said, sure, it's just a really big place, right? So your dog can like walk around and all that. They just cannot step off the perimeter of that area rug. So it's super versatile. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, it just has to have a perimeter. So you couldn't say place and send her to the corner like you would a kid And you ever see Malcolm in the Middle?
Yeah.
Did you ever see that episode where they send Dewey to the corner and they forget about him? And they like wake up.
I'm sure I did, because I've seen that. I love that show. But yeah.
I was just thinking about it right now, but I always think about Dewey. He's just in the corner and he's like asleep, like just in the corner like this, and they wake up like, Dewey, you can go. So you can't send her to the corner and say place because there's no end to it coming up this way, right? It just has to be defined perimeter. One time working with a client in the park, I forgot to bring my placemat. So I just took off my jacket, popped it on the ground, and I used that to teach place because it created a perimeter. Okay? So
So you can really do this anywhere. Like you gave the example of sitting at a restaurant with the dog. So in those cases, what would you recommend? Would you recommend we bring like a towel or something with
yeah,
us?
that's what a lot of people do is a towel.
Okay.
Because they can just roll it up and keep it in their trunk, you know? Unless it's like a smaller dog and they can use it as a dog bite or whatever. But the most common thing is like a towel.
Okay.
You know, because it's easy to just pick up and whatever and easy to wash.
So she will, like in that case, we would lay it down and we would say place, and she would pretty much get it. That like that towel on the ground.
We probably need to train that towel.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay,
you
we
have
can
to
train that
transfer it.
towel. Okay.
Yes, so you can have more than one place. So it can be, you could have the word of place be a towel, a dog bed, and like a rug. Okay, so she will determine where to go depending on the context. So if you're in the living room and she has a dog bed there that you use as place, her assumption is going to be the dog bed. But like let's say you trained it on the ottoman, and she sees the ottoman, she's like, oh, place, boom, she's gonna pop on there, right? Let's say you go to another room, there's an area rug, and within that room, place is the area rug. She would go there, she wouldn't go to the ottoman, right?
She's not going to leave the room. She's going to go to that one.
Yeah, she's gonna go to the one within the space, because that's what she's used to. When we're gonna teach a new object as place, you do have to teach it.
Okay.
So then she goes, she's not gonna assume when you say place and you point at something that it means to go there. It's familiar to her, but she needs pressure to kind of transfer like, oh, this is also a place that you would go to. And if you're using like the same towel, yes, eventually you say place and she's gonna look at the towel and go, oh, it's gonna be that one, okay? You can use one particular object that you just move from room to room. So like let's say you always use her dog bed in the living room and you can move it to different spots in the living room, she would assume that object. So even though it's not in the same space, she would recognize and go, oh, place means go to here. So then if you picked it up and moved it to like the kitchen and you said place and she saw that, she'd probably just go to that one, right?
Okay.
Because she's recognizing every time you say place, I always go to this object, okay? You can have a fixed object within the home and send her from different rooms, but she always goes to this one particular spot, okay? So it's whatever you're wanting. Typically, people have either one that they move around or one in each room where they would practice. Is usually like the two most common approaches. Super rare that I'll get someone that says like, oh yeah, I want to be able to like send my dog from any room, because then you have to work backwards, right? So first we start at the foot, then we move to 2 to 3 feet, and then you move 4 to 5 feet, and you keep doing that, and then eventually you'd be like in the kitchen and in place. You send her from the kitchen, right? You have to work from different angles, different areas, different rooms, in order for her to associate, oh, when I hear this word, I go to this
So that
particular
doesn't really
object.
make sense.
So,
to me.
just more work. No one wants more work.
It's under, let's do
So-
simple places, right, Rory?
So, the sending exercise that we're doing, you would do for like 3 to 5 minutes apiece. That's it, okay? Once you see that Rory goes there consistently and reliably and quickly, you don't need to practice the sending exercise anymore. Because the intention of this is to teach her, like the first one was really difficult, right? Then the next one was easier and then easier and easier, and she gradually got easier. And then as we increased the distance, it got a little bit more difficult, but then as she did it repeatedly, it got easier, right? Because once you get to the point where you can say place, and Rory just goes consistently. I go, okay, cool, you have the concept, I don't need to drill this out anymore. I just go to application, okay? So then I suggest at least once a day you practice some type of duration work, okay? If you know you would like to take Rory to a restaurant and have her chill with you right there, and it's usually about like an hour and a half. In the home, you want to practice around 2 to 2.5 hours, 2 to 3 days a week or so, okay? So the reason why we do longer is because at a restaurant, there's going to be scents, there's going to be people, there's going to be food, sounds, distractions, other dogs, the waiter, the waitress, blah, 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 right? Is you're making the command more difficult by increasing the period of time that she's doing to try to compensate for all the distraction stuff that you wouldn't have outside. Okay? So like you can go home and do 30 minutes today, and then tomorrow you do 10 minutes, and the next day you do 2 hours, and the next day you do 30 minutes, the next day another 2 hours, and then 10 minutes and 10 minutes, right? You can pick and choose whatever length of time you want to do, but if you know you're going to want her to be able to do that, you want to practice up in that range, because if you only do 15 to 20 minutes at a time every day, and then one day it's like, let's go to the restaurant, and there's all this stuff going on, now you're sitting there having to correct Rory a lot because there's more things to contend with, okay? So I suggest getting it pretty solid in the house first before going out to a more distracting environment, okay? If she falls asleep, it's okay. If she wakes up and forgets about it, you would correct it as normal, okay? Dogs are able of falling asleep and waking up and realizing, like, still remember, like, okay, I'm on place, I can't move, okay?
Okay, I didn't realize that.
It happens all the time.
Did you know that, Dane? If you woke up after a nap, you're still. No. It seems tough.
Let me think here. What you might see is if she might be a little pushy with being stationary. So like right now she's chill, right? She's observing, she's hanging out, no problem. But then you might see her like pause beyond the edge like this, and then like this, and then like this, and then like this, and she's just slowly just creeping off of the bed, right? If you see that thought process, you want to tap immediately. Don't wait to see like, what is she gonna do? If your assumption is, she's looking kind of sneaky right now, you would just correct her, okay? Otherwise, she'll continue to press until that extent. Yeah. My pit, Lexi, when she was a puppy.
I'm sorry, it's just so funny, because she would definitely do that.
Well, so my kitty, Lexi, when she was a puppy, when I taught her place command, I would leave, and I'd come back 10 minutes later or whatever, and she'd be like this. Okay? Nice. She literally had one foot there. Literally 1 foot on the bed and sprawled out on my floor. Okay? So dogs are super smart. She was aware that she was to maintain some kind of contact, right? So of course I would correct her. She'd go back to bed or whatever. But that's not obviously all of the dog within the area of place. Yeah. Now let's say she falls asleep and she happens to be half off, like her head's off of place and whatever. I'm like, whatever, you're asleep. But if she wakes up and looks around and starts to get off, we would have to correct that, send her back to the place. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I just go by what's going on in the dog's brain, and it's usually pretty obvious for people to recognize where they look sneaky or whatever. So the moment you see it, we correct it. What we should see her is retract.
Dogs are so sneaky, it's funny.
We should see her retract onto place again, okay? We would not, and we're going to use the word place in the session today, we wouldn't repeat the command. So place means go here and don't move. So if Rory happens to sneak off or get off, and you say place and she goes back, you've not taught her to not get off. You've simply reset the command because you said go there again, right? So this is super common where people complain about, Jesse, my dog doesn't stay put. Then I go, well, how do you correct it? And like, oh, I just say place again. I'm like, that's not a correction. That's you just resetting the command. Because your new command will always override your old command, even if it's the same command. Okay? So I say place, she goes there. 20 minutes later, she tries to get off. I say place, she goes there. But nothing said, don't get off. So this is where if she tries to sneak off or think of sneaking off, we would correct her. And we're teaching her, don't think about stepping off of the area. Okay? Or if she does step off, we correct her. We're teaching her, if you step off, there's a correction until you position yourself back onto the area again. Okay? So, questions so far? No?
No, I like this one.
I know you do.
There's stages to this. Stage 1 is, again, close to you. Real easy to fix, right? If you're practicing consistently for the week, week 1 is Rory's here. If you're going to get up, you want to release her first and then get up and do something, rather than get up and then release her. Okay? Do you know why?
Because
when we get
then
up, she gets up?
Yeah, she'll think every time we get up, she can get up.
Correct. So to avoid that problem,
That's what you said.
we release first and then we get up. Okay, so there's not a pattern she picks up on. The second week would be Rory's here, still close to us, but you would be getting up to go do something and coming back, but she stays put, okay? Because we've already done a week of corrections that if she does get up, I correct, she goes back, it's much easier, and she should know to stay put. Week 3 would be her a little bit further away from you, still with the leash on. Week 4 would be at a distance, so she could be across the room, and you're watching TV, you get up, you walk around, sweep, vacuum, work out, whatever distractions you're gonna do, and she has to stay put, okay? Once she's really good, then you don't need a leash anymore, okay? I try to find times throughout the day when you can practice. If you're eating lunch or dinner, gonna watch TV, gonna work from home, read a book, whenever you're just gonna be stationary for a bit. It's super simple, just bring the dog, bed over, whatever, send them, and then do what you're gonna do for that period of time, okay? You can practice this multiple times a day if you want, because it's not redundant. It's just go here and don't move for the next 20 minutes, or the next hour, or whatever it is. The sending exercise of place, break, is redundant. So that we keep 3 to 5 minutes. We keep it short because it can get frustrating for a dog to keep repeating the same behavior over and over again.
Sure.
Okay. So we do it today for the sake of the lesson, so I can teach you to teach her. But realistically speaking, when you practice yourselves, you wouldn't do it that long.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions?
No.
So what we'll do here is, you want to give it a go?
Sure.
So when you pick up your leash here, we want to assume that Rory might get up, or she might not. She looks like she might be sleeping there. Oh, she's awake. Go ahead and grab your leash.
Hi.
Good. And wait a sec. And tap, 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 and there you go. Good. So you picked up the leash, and she goes, "We're done," right? But we didn't say break. So little things like that you can do as well to kind of distract her or throw her off, where she might be staying there for a bit, and then you'll just kind of get up and pick up her leash and like move around like you did, and see what she does. If she stays put, great. You drop the leash, go back to what you're doing, or you say break, and then she's done, or you do another place command. Okay. So what we're gonna do here, so I'm gonna have you release her, and we're gonna repeat the process of sending her to place from about a 2 to 3 foot distance, so, moving around and sending from different angles.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Break. And I don't have to say anything?
Correct. We're just tapping right now.
Okay.
Good. Almost there. Good. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Break.
Break.
Good form. There you go. Yeah, that's good. Good girl. Good girl.
Break. Trying to get to that side. That's pretty good. Pretty good, huh?
Good. Yeah, the girl.
Girl.
All right, we're gonna test you here. Break. Good dog. Wow.
Nice try.
Wow.
Try 2 more.
You are smart, aren't you?
There you go. Ooh, 1 tap. Good one.
Yeah. Good girl.
Good girl. Good dog.
Saw she kind of
Yeah.
was impulsive there.
Break.
1 more.
Good girl.
Good. So on this next batch, we're going to start applying word to place. So you can cue place first, start tapping. If no response with the 3rd tap, keep tapping, and then a little bit of leash pull.
Okay.
Okay.
Break. Place. Good girl. Good girl. Break. Good. Place.
Good girl.
Good girl. Yeah, you're tired, aren't you? Good girl. Doing a good job. Break.
Good, 2 more.
Place.
Good.
Good girl. Good girl.
1 more. Break.
Break.
Good.
Place.
Good. All right. So
Girl, you gotta wrap yourself up then.
for the next batch, same concept. You're gonna say place to send her, tapping like you were.
Okay.
Once she gets there, you're gonna do a walk around. You're gonna come in, praise her, loud praise, good girl, good girl, good girl. And you're gonna step away again. Okay, but she should maintain the position, or at least keep within the perimeter of place.
You want me to keep going? You want to step in?
You want to
You're fine? Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
Alright, break. Place.
Good. Good. There we go. Good.
And walk away, you said?
And then you're gonna come into her and do a lot of praise.
Good girl. Good dog. Mm-hmm.
Then you can step away and then walk around again. There you go. Good. Back to the side. And grab the leash. Up. Yep. Right. Good. Break.
Break.
Good. Do that 2 more times.
Place.
Good girl. Got praise. Praise.
No, after the walk around. At least I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I'll have to walk.
Oh.
Bad advice, Peter. Good girl. Good girl. Yes. Put that here.
Good. Good. Yes, that's okay.
Break.
Good.
Good girl. Couple more. Very good. Place. Happen. Good dog. Who's my good dog?
Tap. 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 There you go. That'll do the correction. girl.
Break.
And one more.
Place.
Good. Who's tired? Good. And you have a seat right there. See if she takes place. Very good. Questions on any of that?
Can I use the washroom really quick?
Yeah. So it's
Or somewhere out there, right?
yeah, you're gonna go straight down. It says potty room or potty area.
Perfect.
Alright,
This is a good test for you, Rory.
Yeah. Nope.
Good correction, Junior. Thank you.
Good girl.
She tried to follow him.
Yeah.
Did you tap?
Yep.
And she went back?
Yep.
Cool. So that's what this is supposed to look like. But in the beginning, we always, of course, have the leash and everything just to make it easier to correct. But when they got a really good concept, it should be just tapped and back onto the placemat with no argument. Okay. Let me have you go ahead and walk over to her,
Okay.
and then go ahead and pick up the leash. But instead of releasing her, go ahead and just try to walk around. This is okay. Tap, 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 tap. Good. And walk around. Good. See. Tap, 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 tap. Good. Good. And you'll come in and praise.
Good girl. Good girl.
Good. And break.
Break.
Good. And you'll walk around and then you'll send her from a different angle.
Okay. Place. Place.
So tap, tap, tap. And then turn, so you're on her right. There you go. And then tap, tap. And you're gonna slowly, so you're gonna go straight like that, tap, 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 tap. Get a little bit more. Tap. There we go, good. And you pressure, good. And walk around. So that one might have been more difficult because you sent her from a further distance, right?
Okay.
And I
yeah.
walked in halfway. That's
Yeah.
gonna make a difference.
Tap, tap, tap. Good.
Good.
Tap, tap, tap. Good. She really wants to follow along. Good.
She's like, I
I'm
give
fine,
up.
I'll just fall asleep on you.
Good. And then come to a stop. Break.
Break.
Okay, we'll try a couple more.
Place.
There you go. Good girl.
There you go. Should I put the leash down?
Either works.
Good girl. Good girl.
Good. Break.
Break.
And one more. drop, praise and then drop the leash. Then have a seat.
Girl. Good girl.
Very good. So, pretty simple. So now it's just practicing this a couple times a day to make it easier for Rory to go to, from wherever you're sending her to the place with the verbal cue. If you want to pair in food here, you would do place, tap, tap, she goes, and then you would feed after she goes there. So we're not using it as a lure or as an incentive to go there. It's, she does the work and then we pay her when she completes it, okay? Otherwise, with repetition of just repeating the sentence 3 to 5 minutes a couple times a day, she should get the concept at some point. I would say within the week, usually within about 3 to 4 days, dogs will start getting it pretty good. If you're noticing when you send her, it's just like a really lax or really slow kind of mosey along the place, then we can start playing with the number a little bit. Okay, so 20, 25, 30, whatever, slowly going up until you find a number that kind of incentivizes her to go there more quickly. Okay, because some dogs will sit there and they'll take the taps and then go on the 4th one. So then we'll just play with the number until we get them to go on that first tap because they're not going to get it repeatedly. Okay, questions?
No.
Yeah, other than that, now it's practicing duration work. This command, I think a lot of people blow off because it is so easy to practice. I can practice whenever I'm watching TV. So they just don't. And then fast forward a couple of months and it's like, oh, it's summertime, let's bring my dog to the restaurant. And they've not done any of this play stuff. And then they're sitting there correcting their dog 20 times while they're trying to enjoy a meal. Okay? So definitely at least once a day, every day doing a different length of time, at least 2 to 3 times a week. You want to do a longer period of time. So just think to yourself, what's realistic for you? If the longest you would do is an hour and a half at a restaurant, then within the home, 2.5 hours so that you're able to do an hour and a half at a restaurant easily. Okay? Questions?
And she'll get to the point where she doesn't care if she's in place the whole time.
Dogs don't care anyways. That's the human, right? Where dogs struggle is if I have a dog that's used to doing whatever it wanted, right? So when we first opened up, we had a board and train named Jaeger. He's a black Russian Terrier, 150-pound dog, massive dog. Year-old, used to bully his mom, bark at literally just jump up and bark in her face, to get her to do stuff. And that was intimidating. This dude's 150 pounds. And never been made to do anything in his life, So when we started doing the training here with him, we would have him on place. And for the first week or 10 days or so, he was so anxious because he was used to doing whatever he wanted that he would just stand the entire time, okay, for hours. We'd have him for 2 hours, he'd just be standing the entire time because he was so uneasy with being made to stay still for a period of time. Then after about a week to 10 days in, he began to sit down, but then he would just sit there for 2 hours, whatever. And then a few days after that, he finally lay down. And he started to relax and chill and actually fall asleep on the placemat. But it took us, because we would do duration work with him about 3 to 4 times a day. So he would do it until about 6 to 8 hours of duration work a day.
Wow.
And it took us 7 to 10 days, or actually longer technically 2 weeks before he finally just learned to relax and lay down with no problem, So here she's going into it much more easily. She doesn't have that anxious state of mind or whatever. But this is something that we do for dogs that are really just either anxious, overstimulated, puppy type energy that just wants to move around a lot. This is a mental exercise. Because it's go here and don't move for a period of time until I give you permission. Okay? But then she's not going to sit there and resent you and go oh man, I should be, I want to sleep on the ottoman, I don't want to be on our dog bed. Yeah. That's human stuff. But otherwise, yeah, as long as you need, you can start doing literally 2 hours as soon as you go home right now. Just expect her to make mistakes. But
No, I expect her to fall asleep in 4 minutes into place. That's what I expect.
This is something that people use when guests come over as well. So at 5:30 the guest is coming over, at 5 o'clock they already have the dog on place. Just anticipate it's going to be difficult when the doorbell rings or whatever.
Yep.
She's going to want to break from it. But this is one means of addressing excitement with people coming into the home if there's jumping involved. But this is a preventative approach. So if she likes to jump on guests and she's on her placemat, she can't jump on them because she's on place. Which is different, because then if you release her, if she's still excited when you release her, she's still going to jump, right? It's just she was unable to because she was confined for a period of time.
Yeah.
So then we go into, so we have prevention and intervention. Prevention is do this so you can't do that. Intervention is do that and then see what happens, right? So then she'd jump and you would correct her. She goes, okay, can't jump on people because when I do, I get corrected. So there's different ways of approaching things, but this is, when guests come over is another common place where people will practice this command. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
No. Actually, I have one question. You said that in one of our first classes, you said down the line there is an easy command to get her to stop barking.
Oh, sure. So shoot me an email.
Okay.
So you try to correct barking in the home?
Yeah, she doesn't.
She doesn't do it nearly as much.
She doesn't do it
anymore.
nearly as much, especially with us, but she does. She does more with your parents' house. I don't know if they would. I don't know if it's with if what you were talking about is with the collar.
There has to be some kind of correction.
It's probably
Okay.
it's probably not going to happen with
Well, at
us,
least
so.
when we are at your parents' house.
Okay. So if you're at your parents' house, if you use the e-collar, you want to determine if you want to eliminate it or if you want to control it. When you want to eliminate a behavior, you simply correct it, no warning. Okay. When you want to control a behavior, there has to be a verbal cue and then the correction. So like, let's say she's barking.
What's a typical? Yeah, well, I was going to say, what's a typical verbal cue?
Yeah. So like, let's say quiet, hush, no bark, no.
Okay.
Simple, just a word that says don't do that.
Okay.
Followed by a correction. So no is only no until it's powered by the caller,
Yeah.
right? So if you want to
Grab some water. Grab some water. I teach all day. I know that feeling when you're keep the point going and then.
So if you want to eliminate something, she's barking out the window, and let's say you don't need to bark out the window, period. Maybe it's like the 20th floor, and you're like, it doesn't matter, like barking out the window, you don't need to do that, right? You would just correct it. There would be no warning, because you don't need her to bark from 20 feet up, right? Or 20 floors up. If it's, hey, we live on the first floor, and there's people that walk in front of our window, and we don't want to eliminate the barking, because it's security, but we want to control it, because it can become incessant,
Mm-hmm.
then you would say quiet or whatever, then follow that word with a correction. Okay, so like let's say, and it's different for behavior. So like her obedience number could be 30 and she's perfect, and then her behavior number for barking could be 60 in order to deter her from barking again.
Immediately.
Yeah, so then it would be quiet and then the correction, whatever that number may be. We should get a response of she stops the behavior and she might walk away and do something else. Okay, so the difference is with the first approach, she's going to learn don't bark out the window, because 60 happens automatically, no warning. The only way to avoid it is not to do it. If you cue it and you say quiet, technically she can bark until you say quiet, right? So if she's barking and you go take a look at what she's barking at,
I like that.
and you're like, yeah, keep barking, just walk away, don't say anything. If you want her to not bark, you go, okay, you don't need to bark, it's quiet, okay? But you'll just have to address her each time. But every time it's a different context for a dog. So if she's barking and you take a look and it's like some kid's playing, you're like, quiet, you don't need to bark at that. But then 20 minutes later, there's like a guy walking in front of the building and she barks at a separate context, okay? It won't be quiet, don't bark for the next 2 hours.
Right.
It's contextual. So, and dogs are you can really fine tune it. Like you can teach her not to bark at kids, dogs, and like women, but she barks at men. Okay, you just have to be consistent. So you would only correct her. You would correct her with no warning for like those instances, but then the other ones you wouldn't address it unless you were to say quiet and you go, okay, now you don't have to bark at that anymore. Okay, but it has to be just consistent for her to pick up on the pattern of like, oh, I don't bark at kids, dogs, and women, but I can bark at dudes until you say quiet. Okay, or I can bark at anybody walking out by the fence, but I can bark at people walking into the property. you know? So it's
Yeah,
it's
I like that. That's good because there's security involved, but
yeah.
at the same time you want to be able to control it. I like that. Okay, cool.
So try that out for now. The only problem you're gonna have is I don't want you to become collar dependent within the home.
Yeah.
Right, so like when there's stimuli, you're walking here, when you're at the park and there's dogs and all these things going on, right, you want to have a leverage over the stimuli. Or if someone's coming into the home, because that's a stimuli that normally wouldn't happen.
Sure.
But when it's, hey, we're hanging out in the home on a Saturday and she's just barking throughout the day, so for dogs, their correctional tool is their mouth. So when they bite each other, it's right there. But for us, our correctional tool is external, right? It requires you to wear something. That's why I call it a cuff on a collar. So I tried it out first to get the approach down, get the method down. And then like, let's say from like 4 to 7, it's like the craziest time when she barks or whatever, have the collar on at 4. And just remember every hour and a half, 2 hours, you want to rotate it. Because if she's wearing it for an extended period of time, pressure source can develop. So you want to rotate it so that doesn't happen, okay? Other thing would be, if you ever take your swimming, with the moisture and the body heat and the heat of the collar, dogs can develop hot spots. So then you want to rotate your collar more frequently, like, every hour or so, different spots. Because that actually happened to a couple of clients recently, where they were playing, the dogs were looking around the neck and stuff, and then they didn't rotate it, and the dogs developed a hot spot. So, other than that, there's no issues with wearing it for a longer period of time, you just want to rotate it. And they also make comfort adapters for extended wear if needed, but I think it'll be fine. Okay?
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Good job.
All right, thank you.
You want